Hi, I'm Dan Phelps, and I want to tell you about a project that I did that came out in 2011. It's called Modular. It's a collaboration with Matt Chamberlain and Viktor Krauss, drummer and bass player, and probably one of the finest rhythm sections that could be assembled on the face of the planet. Just amazing musicians. It's collaborative in that we all improvised the music together. The core of what the album is built on was improvised over the course of a week in a studio in Northern California. And the cool thing about doing that is if it's going well, you have all the elements that each person brings to it. But then there's sort of a third party or a spirit that shows up in the process when the music starts to assert itself and says, this is what's working. This is what this group of people does together in this moment in time. And that definitely happened. There's sort of a spacious, sweeping vista quality to this music that wasn't preconceived, but I love so much. Once we recorded that stuff, we went through and combed through all of the music that we had done and found the best parts, things that had that quality, that sort of had the glow to it already. And with a little judicious editing and some overdubbing, crafted those into the pieces that are on the record, kind of unearthed the hidden intention of the improvisation by overdubbing on top of it. And one thing that I'll say about that is that I've done a few projects this way now, and invariably for me, the process works best if I keep improvising in every step of the process. If I come to an already recorded track with a bunch of preconceived ideas of what I want to do on top of it, oftentimes it just falls flat because I'm kind of trying to implant an organ into a body that wants to reject it. But if I surrender to the spirit of the music and what happened originally and just become a non-linear improviser, improvising with past Dan, Matt, and Viktor, things flow better and I'm able to slip into the flow of the music and kind of ride the vibe, to use a strange term. And that's what we did. I improvised and overdubbed on it at home. Viktor did the same, playing more keyboards and some guitar and more bass on the recordings at his Nashville studio. And then Matt and I got together for a few days at a studio in Seattle to overdub more drums and guitars and to craft the music. Once we had all of the bits and pieces there, I took the recordings back to the studio where we did the original improvisations and mixed it with an engineer named Martin Woodley, who is a really great friend. And we had a ball. Mixing is a really beautiful part of the process of making a record. It's where you decide exactly how much of each ingredient goes into the dish of each song or track. And it's also the last opportunity to make major changes and transform things. I think it's one of the best parts of making a record. And we had a really good time. We did a lot of interesting processing. We set up speakers in different rooms of the studio so that we could re-amplify things, and especially because this music is so spacious and is really patient in how it develops, there was a lot of opportunity to change the space around the instruments and really take it to different sonic environments, and I love doing that. Which brings us to Modular in its final form. And around this time, I was getting obsessed with vinyl and listening to music on vinyl, and even the idea of finding old records pre-digital technology where I could hear music that has never been turned into ones and zeros. And I love the physical aspect of vinyl, where you have this thing that you have to interact with. You can't really put it on autopilot. You can't take a record and work out to it, or even if you've got it on in the house and you're cooking or something like that, you still have to go back and engage with it. it's going to run out of music in about 20 minutes and you need to flip it over. I love that because music has become such a non-object in our lives. I stream music like everybody else, but it's lacking the engagement with something real and physical. So when it came time to release Modular, I sort of lost my mind a little bit and decided I would put it out on vinyl. And then I started collaborating with an artist named Nate Manny, who's an amazing designer. And what was originally going to be a fairly humble, simple, sort of 1960s Blue Note or Verve Records inspired album package became this whole other thing. Nate and I invented this mythology around the music where maybe people in the future, in a post-apocalyptic landscape where nature has started to reassert itself, would find old technology and build new instruments out of it, ways to take readings, and they would gather data from the earth and nature and turn that into music. So it became this whole other thing where Nate and his partner Gabe drove all over the state of Washington with these crazy contraptions, sculptures really, that Nate had built, and shot photos of it, and that stuff ended up in the booklet, which it's really funny now because it's presented so seriously that I've gotten a lot of questions about how the data that we collected with these instruments relates to the music that was made. And even Nate said that he was outputting buoys that he had made into the ocean and all this kind of stuff, and people were coming along and asking him like what kind of scientist he was and what he was studying. So in a kind of a perverse way, I love this mythology that exists around the album. And the packaging is super deluxe. Everything about it is sensual, and it's an object that begs you to enjoy it and to go to a place. It creates really an environment for your brain to go to with the music. So I'm super proud of that, and it's become a little bit of a calling card for me. It's one of the projects still that people respond to the most. And that's in large part because Matt and Viktor are so amazing on it. I don't know if they would agree with this statement, but I kind of feel like it's some of their finest performances, or at least some of my favorite ones. The drumming is outrageous, and Viktor's piano playing on this album is just gorgeous. So I'm super proud to have been associated with it. It's super significant to me in my life and career, what that record means, and I would love if you would go back and check it out. If you want to find the vinyl and explore that a little bit, you can find that on my Bandcamp page, and it's streaming and downloadable everywhere where music is streamable and downloadable. So if you want to take a little journey back in time, check it out. Here's some amazing performances by other musicians, and hopefully be transported to another place. Then I would invite you to listen to it. Thanks.